Most people think suffering comes from life itself, but often suffering comes from the meaning the mind automatically assigns to life. The text message, the silence, the criticism, the distance, the rejection. For someone with unresolved trauma, those moments don't just feel uncomfortable, they feel dangerous. And the reason you overthink, emotionally spiral, shut down, people please, or fear abandonment might not be because you are too sensitive. Your nervous system might simply be interpreting reality through survival patterns it learned long ago. By the end of this video, you'll understand why trauma changes perception itself and how healing begins when you stop believing every fearful story your mind creates. One of the hardest part about childhood trauma and emotional neglect is that the pain doesn't stay in the past. It becomes the lens through which you experience the present. So now someone taking hours to reply feels emotionally loaded. A short text feels cold. A change in tone feels threatening. Conflict feels catastrophic. And distance feels like abandonment. And silence feels unbearable. A lot of people living with anxious attachment, CPTSD, or abandonment wounds are not reacting only to what is happening now. They are reacting to what their nervous system has learned to expect. That's why emotionally small moments can create massive internal reactions. And many people feel ashamed of this. They think, why am I overreacting? Why can I calm down? Why do relationships affect me this much? But the truth is, your nervous system adapted to unpredictability. If love once felt inconsistent, your body learned hypervigilance. If emotional safety disappeared suddenly, your mind learned to scan constantly for sign of rejection. If criticism once threatened connection, your body learned to fear disapproval deeply. And eventually, survival stops feeling like survival. It starts feeling like your personality. One of the most important things trauma psychology teaches is this. The brain is not just recording reality, it's interpreting reality. Your nervous system is constantly asking, am I safe? Am I accepted? Am I about to be rejected? Will I be abandoned again? And depending on your attachment history, your mind creates very different interpretations. An anxiously attached person might experience delayed texting as emotional rejection. An avoidantly attached person might experience emotional closeness as loss of freedom or overwhelm. A disorganized attachment style might crave intimacy deeply while simultaneously fearing it. So, two people can experience the exact same event and emotionally experience completely different realities. This is why trauma healing is not only behavioral, it's perceptual. The mind creates stories automatically. They are distant because I'm not enough. They are upset because I failed. This conflict means the relationship is ending. Psychology calls these automatic thoughts, negative schemas, and cognitive distortions. But emotionally, they feel real. And this is where many people become trapped. Because the nervous system often confuses familiarity with true. If chaos was familiar, peace might feel uncomfortable. If emotional unpredictability was familiar, stable love might initially feel suspicious. If criticism was normal, kindness might feel unsafe or undeserved. Your brain learns survival through repetition. And over time, those repetitions became identity. I'm too much, I'm hard to love, I'm always be abandoned, I'm emotionally unsafe. These beliefs are not random, they are adaptations. And this is where one of the deepest shifts begin. What if your suffering is not only coming from reality, but from the fearful interpretations your nervous system automatically attaches to reality? That changes everything because now healing is not becoming someone else. It's learning to see more clearly. Most people think healing means I need to stop feeling. But healing is often learning not to believe every emotional alarm signal automatically. Because trauma trains the mind to interpret uncertainty as danger. And once that happens, the nervous system starts rehearsing fear constantly. You replay conversations, analyze facial expressions, read into silence, predict abandonment, prepare emotionally for rejection before it happens. Not because you are irrational, but because your body is trying to protect you from pain it remembers. But here's the deeper problem. The mind can become so focused on emotional threat that it stops perceiving reality accurately. This is why chronic judgment creates suffering too. If your mind constantly scans who's wrong, who's dangerous, who disappointed you, who rejected you, your nervous system never fully exits survival mode. Eventually, your mind becomes emotionally exhausting to live inside. And this is also why forgiveness matters psychologically. Not because harmful behavior was acceptable, but because unresolved resentment keeps the body emotionally attached to past pain. The mind keeps replaying it, the nervous system keeps reliving it, and the body keeps carrying it, sometimes for years. Now imagine four people experiencing the same situation. Someone they care about suddenly becomes distant. The anxiously attached person thinks they are losing interest, I did something wrong, they are going to leave, and their nervous system becomes activated. They overthink, text repeatedly, seek reassurance. The avoidantly attached person feels overwhelmed internally. They might think, this is becoming too emotionally intense. I need space. I can deal with this pressure. So they withdraw even more. The disorganized attachment style experiences both simultaneously. Part of them desperately wants closeness, and another part fears getting hurt. So they move towards the connection, then panic and pull away. And the securely attached person might still feel uncomfortable, but their mind is less likely to interpret distance as catastrophe. They might simply think, they might be stressed, we'll talk later. Same event, completely different emotional realities. Or think about criticism. One person hears, this feedback could help me grow. Another hears, I'm a failure, I'm not enough, I'm rejected. The trigger is not only the moment itself, it is the identity wound underneath it. And this explains something many trauma survivors struggle with deeply. Why they can logically know something, but emotionally feel something completely different. Logically, this person is probably just busy. Emotionally, they are abandoning me. That emotional reaction is often coming from the implicit memory, not present reality. And the mind keep reinforcing these patterns through attention. If every day you rehearse fear, comparison, resentment, doom scrolling, self criticism, and relationship anxiety, your nervous system becomes conditioned toward emotional threat. Attention shapes emotional reality. What the mind rehearses repeatedly, the nervous system starts believing. So, what does healing actually begin to look like? Not perfection, not becoming emotionless, not forcing positivity. Healing often begins with noticing. Noticing the story, noticing the nervous system response, noticing the interpretation, and gently asking, what do I actually know right now? What meaning am I adding? Is this fear or reality? That pause is powerful because it interrupts automatic emotional conditioning. Another part of healing is understanding this. People often attack when they feel emotionally unsafe. This does not excuse harmful behavior, but it changes how personally you absorb everything. Sometimes criticism is another person's shame. Sometimes anger is fear. And sometimes emotional withdrawal is overwhelm. You stop interpreting every reaction as proof of your inadequacy. And gradually, your nervous system begins learning something new. Not every emotional discomfort is danger. Not every silence is abandonment. Not every conflict is rejection. Not every feeling is true. And healing also requires connection. This is important. Many trauma survivors isolate themselves while healing. They overanalyze alone, spiral alone, carry pain alone. But human beings regulate emotionally through safe connection, through honesty, through attunement, through emotionally safe relationships. Healing is not only self awareness, it's relational safety too. So maybe the deepest insight hidden underneath all of this is this. Your mind has spent years trying to protect you from pain. But protection and perception are not always the same thing. A traumatized nervous system can become so focused on avoiding hurt that it begins expecting hurt everywhere. And eventually, fear starts shaping identity. Fear shapes relationships. Fear shapes interpretation. Fear shapes emotional reality. But once you begin noticing the stories instead of automatically believing them, something changes. You create space. Space between the trigger and the interpretation. Space between fear and reality. Space between who trauma taught you to be and who you actually are underneath survival. And that's where healing begins. Not in pretending pain never existed, but in realizing your nervous system learned these patterns, which mean it can also learn something different. More safety, more clarity, more emotional freedom, more self compassion. And maybe the real question is no longer what's wrong with me. Maybe the question becomes what happened to my perception and how can I begin relating to myself with more understanding instead of fear? And once you truly begin seeing that, you stop fighting yourself so much. And that changes the way you experience almost everything.